Right. Frequently asked question number 3 is a big question, a huge question. And some people may not love me for the answer, but I'm going to be honest about this. The biggest question I get asked all the time is, Mandy, what paints do you advise me to buy? And the thing is, I am not going to give any advice on buying paints because there is a very, 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 very good reason for it. The thing is, you can basically subdivide watercolor paints into 3 categories. 1, poor quality. This is school quality or not even school quality. It's the cheap stuff. You buy at $1 stores. Well, what I think about them? They're crap. Don't buy them. Please save up at least to buy studio quality, which is the second category, which is fine. Studio quality is Cotman, is Van Gogh, and those are paints that you can, and Schminky has Schminky Studio, I think. That is really, 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 or Schminky Academy or Studio, I don't remember, but it's really, really good quality paint. And the big thing is that all these colors in all these brands have been selected for light fastness, for good behavior in mixing, and for intense colors. So any studio quality paint is good, except for the Pebeo Aquarelle Fine that I did a review about, and that was really, really poor in quality. Pebeo, don't do that again. Make good paints because I know you can do it. Because I have fantastic Pebeo paints that I will still review. But it's a good brand. It's just that studio quality Aquarelle Fine is not good. Cotman and Schminky and Talents Van Gogh are awesome studio quality paints. And I can recommend them to anybody, anytime, period. But now there is a third category, and that is the artist quality paints. Do you need them? Need in capitals? No, you don't need them. Let's say that I advise you not to use artist grade paints. Unless you want to become specific about the pigments that you're using, or unless you are working on a higher level for commissions and that you're really developing your art, taking it to the next level. If you are using watercolor paints for journaling, I do not recommend artist grade paints. You simply don't need them, and the other paints are good enough. So on paper, you will hardly see the difference even. Yes, artist grade paints are more intense, but not always. I have studio quality paints that are just as intense as the artist grade paints. In fact, a good reason not to start buying artist grade paints just like that is because the pigments behave in such a way that you might end up with paints that are not light fast or that become muddy when you mix them. So if you want to buy artist grade paints, if you want to step up one level, you have to make sure you know what you do, or else you might be spending your money on the wrong stuff. Artist grade paints. People want to know which one is better. The Schminky Horadam, the Winsor & Newton Artists, the Daniel Smith, the Core, the M. Graham. The thing is that in this level there is no better or worse. But each brand is different. I have Old Holland paint, which is just ridiculously intense in color. But when using it rather purely, it is almost opaque and a little gooey, a little bit like gouache here and there. Then there is the Daniel Smith, which is also insanely intense in color, but that is much more transparent, just like watercolor, even when using it thick. Then there is the Schminky Horadam, which has got really awesome pigments, but it is a classic paint like the Talents Rembrandt and the Winsor & Newton Artist. They're all very classic paints. And then there is the Daniel Smith and the Core paints, the Golden Core. And what I feel is happening is that these paints are reinventing watercolor paints. I don't know if I'm right about that, but I see pigments appearing in those lines that behave weird. And I feel that many of those colors are becoming popular because of the mixed media hype that we're in right now. People want to have weirdo paints. So all of a sudden, it seems like the manufacturers are starting to work with pigments that are behaving in a really weird, non-watercolor classic way. I don't know if what I'm saying is right, but that is what it feels like to me, keeping an eye on the watercolor market for quite a long time now. That is the developments I see going on. There is also, say, Department 2.5 in watercolor paints, the category 2.5, which would be the White Nights paint, the White Nights by Yarka or St. Petersburg, which is an artist quality paint. So it's got it. The pigments are more artist quality in that they're more single pigments, but it behaves weird, and a handful of colors is not light fast. So it's not as good as the other artist grade paint, but it is very, very good, especially for the price. Then there is the Kuretake Genzai Tambi that I tried, which is not watercolor. It is watercolor, but it's not. People tell me it's good on Chinese or Japanese paper. It's not so good on European watercolor paper. Well, to me, it is not really watercolor. To me, it looks a bit like the Old Holland watercolor in that it's just pretty opaque. It's much more opaque than the other paints, and the way it paints is different. The last brand I want to mention here is the Sennelier, which is a beautiful quality. I was not so fond of the Sennelier watercolor paint in the beginning because I felt it wasn't very intense. And it is sort of true that colors like the Daniel Smith are much more intense. You get much more darkness and depth in the colors than in the Sennelier. But I discovered a really cool property about the Sennelier. It's done with a lot of honey, and it is so transparent that when you start layering it, I love it. I have begun to love it so very much that I highly recommend this paint now to everybody. So, when you ask me which paint should I buy, I would say look at your wallet. What is your budget? Please don't bend over backwards to get yourself artist grade paints. You are not going to become a better artist by using artist grade paints. If anything, invest in good watercolor paper and a good brush. Those two are more important than artist grade paints. Studio quality paints are fine, are fabulous. And when you do make the move to artist grade paints, then please check out the color charts and find a few colors that are not in your studio quality collection yet, and sort them out for vibrance and intensity and maybe mixing. Like for me, a color that I really love in artist grade paints is Opera Pink or Opera Rose. It doesn't come in studio quality. It's not light fast, but who cares? I digitize my work straight after we're making it. But that is a typical color you will not find in studio quality, but that you would make a really, really good addition to your collection. So if you ask me which color should I buy, just buy a really good standard set of studio quality paints, the biggest set you can afford. If you can afford 12 by 12, 24, 48, anything you can afford really. And then go on, just make sure you love it. And then when you do start artist grade, expand with extra colors that you don't have in the studio quality. So I hope I've answered some questions for you, and Next time I get some questions, I will do a frequently asked question vlog again. Bye.